Tom, this is the debate that we're seeing going on in sectors right across the country here about vaccination uptakes. Is it going to be mandatory in certain sectors? Which sectors? Should it be a more broad sort of vaccination rate in terms of aiming for 80 or 90%? In this case, Brett Sutton arguing there that it hasn't been a good take-up in terms of the construction industry. We have seen a significant number of cases linked to the construction industry in Victoria, and the government really justifying, and the health officer there justifying this decision to go forward with this 2-week shutdown. In terms of what's happening on the ground now, the protests are continuing. Where are we up to in terms of where they're moving? Does it look like that the crowd is starting to disperse?
It looks smaller from the videos I'm looking at the moment that are being posted and live streamed on Facebook. Frankly, Ash, I don't think these people know where they're going or have a plan. They had a plan clearly from the protest site, beginning with Queen Victoria Marcus and just nearby there with the CFMEU. They then went to Victorian State Parliament. From there, they seem to be essentially trying to avoid the police. They marched down Burke Street, they took a left down Elizabeth Street, they got back to Flinders Street and then went up towards Flinders and Swanston, where the main entrance is to Flinders Street Station, which a lot of people would know very well. But when they saw a big phalanx there of anti-riot police and police on horseback and so on, then they turned around, went down Flinders, and now they've hung a right into William Street. So they're going through the legal district at the moment of Melbourne, which will be a ghost town, essentially. Courts all pushed online. And the last I saw, they were heading, and I'm just looking at it now, still along William Street, walking past the courts. And if they keep going that way, they'll get to Flagstaff Gardens. But the pattern's been, once they encounter police resistance, once they see the pictures you're seeing there on your screen, they turn around. So perhaps they realise they're out-resourced and outnumbered today and want to keep walking through the streets for as long as possible. And just looking at these latest pictures, they might even have turned around again. I think they have. So they're walking back the opposite way down William Street. So anyway, I'm not sure they know where they're going right now. Perhaps this speaks as well to not the most organisation. It's a disparate bunch of protesters, construction workers, some union members of the CFMEU, even though that union, the leadership itself, has criticised these protesters. There were people also involved this morning that we saw with anti-vax slogans on their shirts as well. So it's a bit of a chaotic protest, if you like. I think when you talk as well about mandatory vaccines, now all governments have essentially tried to hold back from making things mandatory. It's difficult. They know some people, although not too many people, will disagree with it. But they also know as soon as you set a deadline for this, even with something as vital as healthcare workers, where you know they'll get a huge uptake, and they are, you'll still get a very small percentage of the workforce that on that D-Day, for New South Wales, it's coming on September 30, for example, for healthcare workers, you'll get people that can't turn up to their shifts. So you know it's disruptive. Governments don't want to do it. For construction, it's had, I guess you call it these days, the privilege of being able to keep working while others haven't been able to. There's so many people whose livelihoods are just shattered. A lot of these workers have been able to keep going, and yet a lot of work sites haven't, according to the Victorian government, been compliant. And that goes from big construction sites, but also small ones as well. I know family in Melbourne have seen construction and been able to see a lot of workers, walking around, mingling, not wearing masks. So clearly there's not just the Victorian government, but anecdotal evidence of the rules being flouted. They wanted tea rooms open. I get why you want a tea room, particularly on a cold Melbourne day, but you get why you can't have one right now. And yet that's caused a bit of a storm as well. So that's the situation. 2 weeks of shutdown. Will it be 2 weeks of chaos is what the Victorian government will be wondering right now. How long will the protest groups, I guess we call them, continue to try to cause this maximum carnage?
Tom, thank you.